Good morning, I'm Jennifer and this is A Country Life, and the first thing I'm going to do here is put together some ground beef mix. So it's not going to be beef, I'm going to use venison, and then I'm going to be making this into meatballs, and I think we're going to do like meatballs in gravy over egg noodles for supper tonight. It's about 10 o'clock right now. It's been pretty busy around here this morning between things. Warren's been in and out all morning washing gaskets and things like that he needs to use for putting together like main line. I think that was for putting together the main line and also putting together the irrigation engine connections, stuff like that. Anyway, so that's what he's been doing. He's been in and out doing that. If you are new here, we are cranberry farmers, and so that's what he's doing. He's working on farm work like that. Joe and Peter and Maria have been just working on school and taking care of our baby chicks. And I've been just running around here, just doing morning stuff, checking emails, and you know, all the mom things that have to be done in the morning. I have not really done any housework kind of stuff. A lot of times in the morning, I will block off a couple of hours. I mean, I'm usually like getting kids ready for the day and kind of doing housework types of stuff, but today, I didn't really do anything like that. I don't know. And now I'm just gonna work in the kitchen. Since the kids are outside and they've already done, all three of them have done some school, and now they're just having fun. So anyway, let's get to this. All right, the first thing I'm doing with this mix here is I just formed a large loaf here. I don't even know how much meat that is. I would say that's probably 1.5 pounds or so. And then I just have an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. I'm gonna pour this over top. And then I'm gonna pop this into my oven at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. So now moving on, I'm gonna shape these into meatballs. So I ended up being able to make 41 meatballs here, and I cannot tell you how happy Joe is going to be when he comes in later and sees that there's meatballs here. When the meatloaf is out of the oven, then I will put these in the oven. Well, maybe I could bake them all at the same time. I'll just move my pans around. That's what I'm going to do. So I am going to pop these in the oven for probably, I want to say about 25 minutes. I'll have to cut one in half just to check. You know, I want them to be done, but with meatballs, you know, you don't want them to dry out. And I want to point out that you can definitely see the onions in these. I didn't mince my onion this time. I just kind of roughly chopped it. And that's okay for us. I mean, the kids who don't really like onions don't really like meatballs, so they'll just probably have like the noodles and maybe some gravy or something like that. But anyway, you could puree the onion in your food processor. I have done that many times. It almost brings it to kind of a liquidy pulp, and then just add that in. Maybe go a little bit less than the 2 full onions so they're not too juicy. But anyway, that kind of hides the onions and still adds that good onion flavor to the meat, but you just don't see the big white chunks, because for some people that will scare them off, especially, you know, young kids. I have some of this pre-cooked bacon in the freezer. Thank you, Rob. And what I'm going to do is just bring out some of it to thaw, probably about 10 strips. I'll let that just thaw on the counter until the last 10 minutes or so of baking time on the meatloaf, and then I'm just going to cover the meatloaf, you know, and the tomato sauce and everything with the bacon, and that'll kind of allow some of those flavors to seep into the tomato sauce, make it really yummy. I also want to make today it's just called cream cheese pie. And you can either use a graham cracker crust, or I'm kicking laundry into the laundry room right now, or you can use like just a baked regular pie crust shell. And so I had one in the freezer, so I'm just waiting for that to thaw so I can get that rolled out, and then I'm going to put that together. So I got the cream cheese out so it can be softening on the counter, and I'm just going to work on some housework kind of stuff like laundry. There's the pile. Joe collected it today, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot of laundry. Joe is looking through photo albums right now. Maria is working on some of her school. Actually, she's working on putting together a photo album too. And then Peter, I don't know where he is right now. He's supposed to be in doing his schoolwork, and he's not. So I'm going to have to find him. Peter? Peter? Well, I'm guessing after all of the kudos we were giving to him over catching fish for an entire meal for us, I'm sure he must be out fishing someplace. And since I'm outside, I want to give you guys a peek at what we did for the chicks. So this here was Eska's doghouse, and what we have done is we've turned it into a place for the chicks now, because they are getting so big. They were wanting to hop out of all the boxes, and they're not big enough or old enough to go in with the full-size chickens yet. So yeah, so we just... Show them what do you want to show them? The playground. Okay. And the kids...
That is a teepee. Puffy. We discovered what they all like. Puffy likes that teepee. There, the chick there, and then it has to jump to there. Speedy.
It's like an obstacle course for them?
Speedy and Tiger likes this. And then this is like a nest. Tiger also likes this one. This is a sand pile.
Oh, okay, so they have their own little sand spot, huh?
And then Tiger runs in circles around it.
The meatballs were in for 30 minutes and they're done. I just cut this one in half and ate it, and it's very good. I'm very glad that I added in that garlic and herb seasoning. I think I probably could have added in 2 teaspoons to that whole amount of meat. I think once it's like with a gravy and everything, I guess you don't want it too salty. Anyway, I wanted to point out that since I'm using venison and it's not that fatty really at all, I just did it on a regular cookie sheet. Now, if you were to make these with a fattier cut of beef, I would recommend putting this on your like broiler pan, line the bottom of it with tin foil, and then spray the top part of your broiler pan and put them on there so that the grease could all drip through. Otherwise, your meatballs are going to be swimming in grease. That would be my recommendation. So venison, just let it be in its juices so it can stay juicy, and beef, do that. Make your meatballs on a broiler pan. My pie crust is soft enough. I'm going to get that rolled out so that that can go in and get baked as soon as the meatloaf comes out of the oven. It feels like it's been a long time since I've made pies, probably since Thanksgiving, or at least that I've shared on here and given you all some like pointers. So if you make homemade pie crusts, the best thing if you want it to stay round is you kind of need to keep shaping it. So as you roll it, I like to turn it because I'm trying to keep it in a perfect circle. And then as it starts to split, I just like to circle it back like this and kind of push those edges in and keep going. What you doing over there, Joe? This was like just barely enough to make a crust, so I'm not going to have any kind of pretty edge on this one. It just fits. It just fills up the pie plate. So I'm just kind of tucking in and trying to make the edge as pretty as I can, but I can't really flute it or anything like that today. Okay, if you're going to bake a pie crust without anything in it, just fork it a few times and that will help so it doesn't get like a great big air bubble. To make the gravy, I'm putting 2 cups of hot water into my crock pot. This is 2 teaspoons of beef bouillon base, 1 pouch of brown gravy mix, and then 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. I'm just going to whisk everything together. I'm going to put this on high and just kind of let it come to a let it come to a boil in my crock pot here before I put the meatballs in. I just kind of want the gravy to thicken up. I want to make sure that it's the right consistency, and then I'll add the meatballs later today. And I also don't want the meatballs to be cooking all day long. Okay, the timer just went off here for the meatloaf. I'm going to get that up onto the top shelf now, and I'm going to lay the bacon. Oh, I guess... I'm going to let this bake for another 10 minutes. Since the meatloaf was all done at lunchtime, we just decided to break into the meatloaf here for lunch. And I like doing this. I like this way. I really like the addition of the bacon. The tomato sauce, I thought, could have added more flavor, but it just didn't. So I think in the future what I would probably do is, if I'm going to use tomato sauce like this, I'd probably put a little brown sugar and a little bit of mustard in it to give it a little bit more of kind of a, maybe just like a little more of a barbecue kind of sauce, or even just use straight ketchup, because we did add, we added ketchup to it when we ate it, just to give it more of that, like that sweet tangy flavor that the ketchup offers. Anyway, Warren and Joseph and I had this for lunch. We ate some leftover mashed potatoes. Joe's been over here sneaking meatballs. I told you that he would be very happy that that I made meatballs. And now we're just kind of doing some of our after lunch things. So Peter's going to unload the dishwasher. Where are you, Peter? Okay, so Peter's going to work on some school. Then he's going to get in here and unload the dishwasher. My pie crust is done and it's cool now. Whoops, I just put a little divot in it. It's cool now, and so I'm going to get going on making tonight's pie. So this is another like no bake pie. I know I did bake the crust, but you really wouldn't have to. You could just use an already like store-made graham cracker crust would work really well too. So all right, I'm gonna get going on that and also help Peter with his schoolwork. For yesterday's pie, I used 1 cup of my heavy whipping cream. Today I need to use another cup, which is going to be the rest of this. I'm going to whip this. I don't want it to be quite as stiff as yesterday, just kind of like a soft whip. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle in 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I have 3 ounces of softened cream cheese. That's going to be it. And I'm just going to blend until it's fully mixed.
What is that? Cream cheese pie.
I put the cream cheese mixture into the pie shell now, and we actually tasted it. It's a little salty, so I would not go a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. This is the first time I've made this recipe. I would definitely cut that in half to an 1/8 teaspoon of salt, but I am going to make like some strawberry sauce to put over this, and as long as the strawberry sauce is sweet enough, I think it will cut that salt. But yeah, I will make that change when I write up the recipe in the description box for you guys. Peter and I are just laying back in bed because we're so cold. I actually have the heating pad on. I know it says it's like 69 degrees in the house, but it just feels so cold. So anyway, I just wanted to point out to all of those that are homeschooling parents out there that if you find that you are just not seeing the progress with your child with reading that you would like to see or that you think you should be seeing in them, I would just highly suggest that just spend 30 solid minutes, set the timer, stay focused, and read with your child. Have them read aloud, right? And just do every other paragraph, whether it's a long or short paragraph, right? We just go back and forth. I've been doing this a lot recently, very, very faithfully with both Peter and Maria, and it is amazing the forward progress that they make. Having them read aloud, it lets me see where they need help. Like, is it the S-U-R kind of words, you know, like when the S and the U sound like shh? Is it the T-I-O-N, S-I-O-N types of words? You know, what is it? Is it prefixes? Is it endings? You know, what is it that they're struggling with? And just reading aloud with them really, really helps me to know, because all the phonics programs and all the reading programs, you know, I do love all about reading. There is something to be said about just reading aloud with your child and actually honing in on those problematic areas, and then you can just find out what it is and take care of it right away. So anyway, that's what Peter and I are going to do. We're setting the timer for 30 minutes. He is currently reading...
Did we set the timer?
We will.
Okay.
Currently, he is reading Roscoe the Rascal Goes to Camp. Paragraph by paragraph.
It's your paragraph.
It's my paragraph?
Yep.
Of course, it's always my paragraph first. So today happens to be the day that I just went live on YouTube, so if you saw that, that day when I was going live, today's that day. And so anyway, we're down here in the very littlest, tiniest cranberry bed that we have, and it's just one more section that Warren had to mow. And so I would just refer you to that video if you just kind of want to see what that was all about. But anyway, we're just loading this up, just raking, and Warren went to get the excavator, and then he's going to load all of those, and then all the rest of the vines that Sam pulls down there, he's going to load those onto a trailer. We'll keep those wet until it's time to plant. So yeah, go check out that live video when you're done watching this one today. Then you can see what that was kind of all about. Last summer, the day before our first grandson Colt was born, we actually went strawberry picking, Emily and I, and Joseph, Peter, and Maria, I think, all were there too. And anyway, so I brought out some strawberries. I thawed these today. I just let them sit on the counter. They made their own juice. I've just kind of been smashing them up a little bit. And now I'm going to put in just a couple sprinkles of sugar. And then I'm going to stir this all up. And just kind of let it, look at how that sugar just changes the color. It kind of brightens it back up again. Anyway, so I'm just going to let this sit here. And then this is what we're going to serve over top of that cheesecake pie that I made earlier today. And I'm hoping, I was so disappointed, I should have actually tasted it. In the perfect world, what I would have done is I would have tasted it before I put it into the pie shell, because then I actually could have added a little bit more sugar to try to offset what I thought was just a little too much salt. It called for a 1/4 teaspoon. And now this was a very old recipe. It actually is in an old church cookbook that was put together in 1979. Still, when all women went by like I would go by Mrs. Warren Brockman. And so that is, so maybe, sorry, I have a big hair in my face here, but maybe that was just the way that they liked it, is that it would just be a little bit saltier. Or you know how sometimes too people write up a recipe but then they actually don't necessarily make it exactly the way the recipe says. So anyway, I'm hoping that the sweet strawberries are going to kind of offset that saltiness with the pie tonight, but I'm really looking forward to that pie. I have the egg noodles going over here, and then I turned off the meatballs. Some of the meatballs, when I tried to bring them up from the bottom, they seemed like they were getting a little bit soft, and I don't really want those to fall apart. Also, I just opened up a brand new cottage cheese here, and I have some cranapple sauce, and so that's what we're going to be having. Oh, and in the microwave, I have a package of Brussels sprouts, so I'm going to steam those in the microwave, just add a little butter and salt to that. And, oh my goodness, I have just a smidge of corn from the other night left, and since I'm pretty much the only one that's going to eat Brussels sprouts, maybe Warren will want that corn, I don't know. So that's what's going to be for supper here tonight. So just a real quick recap of supper tonight. The meatballs, very, very good. We really liked it in that gravy, and so I will put that recipe, how I did that, in the description box below. We all agreed that these meatballs are really, really good in a gravy, but we would not want these meatballs in a spaghetti sauce. Once they were warmed up a lot, they did fall apart a little bit. Some stayed whole and some kind of fell apart a little bit as we were scooping them out of the gravy, or out, of the crock pot. But we really liked that. It was like a hamburger gravy, but kind of meatballish. Anyway, we all really, really liked that meal tonight. And then the pie, also very, very good. Sam loved it. Peter thought it was really good. Warren really liked it. I liked it. Of course, Maria won't even try it. And Joe, that's not his thing either. But we all really liked it. Again, I'm going to put the salt from 1/4 of a teaspoon to 1/8 of a teaspoon. I think that would be plenty of salt. And again, I just wonder if maybe older recipes, what I wonder is, are we used to things much more sweeter? now than before, or was this just how that particular family liked their desserts, to be a little on the salty side? Anyway, all right, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.